Hey everyone, just quick announcement before I share today's episode with Mathew Marrero. Mathew has an amazing story and I'm excited for him to get to share that with you guys. But just want to take a minute to share the release of my first children's book of my Healthy Children's Book series called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. It's a cute book with bright pictures that follows a toddler on her trip to the chiropractor. It shows her excitement and how she knows that it impacts her health in a positive way. And each purchase of the book will be supporting a project that I started called the Unlock Wellness Project. For each purchase of the book, we will be donating a wellness bag to a child in need. These wellness bags will include non-toxic, chemical-free essentials such as soap, shampoo, toothpaste, a toothbrush, items that a lot of the times children in tough situations don't have access to. You can learn more about the book and the Unlock Wellness Project by going to drkaseyjohnson.com. That's DRKASEY Johnson.com. Click on the Shop tab, then click the Children's Book option. You'll be able to read a short description and even watch a short video with more information. You can also purchase the book directly on Amazon.com by searching Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. But I hope you guys love the book. Be sure to check out my website to learn more, and thank you so much for the support. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Mathew Marrero. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Mathew Marrero. Mathew has an amazing story. I actually met Matthew's dad, Joel, a few weeks ago, and he was talking about his kids. And when he started talking about Mathew, I knew I needed to get him on the show. So here we are. But after graduating Full Sail University and obtaining a bachelor's degree in science, Mathew decided to fly to Maine to hike south on the Appalachian Trail all the way down to Georgia. So his journey was over 2,100 miles and would forever change his life. But Mathew, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you and just to have you share your story.
No, yeah, it's a pleasure. I've never been interviewed before, so I'm a little nervous.
No, don't be nervous. It'll be fun. But but I'm glad that you were able to come on. Glad that I met your dad too. So, but yeah, so let's just jump into your backstory. So I know you mentioned you were like that skater kid at a young age. So how did you progress from that lifestyle to wanting to immerse yourself in nature on like such a long hike? Like, how did that all progress?
Ever since I was a kid in elementary school, I always loved nature in general. I think it all started when I was a Boy Scout, when I was probably in the 4th or 5th grade. So that was kind of my first introductory to kind of camping, doing a little backpacking with my dad and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess that's where it started, like the seed that planted to, backpacking across the country, so to say. But yeah, I grew up as like a skater kid, but like I wasn't really much of a troublemaker or anything. Like I was always respectable to my peers and my elders, and I, never outspoke. I was a very quiet kid, pretty shy kid. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, and like as far as like like what was the longest hike to that point? I mean, just super like casual, or were you like into like endurance sports or anything like that, or basically just skating? You like nature, but you never really pushed yourself like that far.
Oh yeah, before the trail, I've never pushed myself that far ever. Pretty much my first really getting into sports was skateboarding. Skateboarding was kind of my baby growing up as a kid. I started when I was like 7 years old, and I still skate now. And my longest hike, that's a really funny question. I only did like a 4-day, like 53 miles, I think it was, in 4 days.
Which is a lot to most people.
I mean, in comparison to how big, like the rest of the trail, it's
right.
like nothing.
Right.
But yeah, no. I was like, after that, small 4-day hike, I was kind of like, yeah, I think I can hike across the country. I think I can get into this. So after that, 4-day test run, right after college, we set the plane ticket up. My stepdad and my mom flew me up to Maine. saw my departure, and then it was, down south I go.
Right.
There's no
Well,
turning back.
how did you decide on the Appalachian Trail? Like, was it just like, what was the decision making process just for the location?
The Appalachian Trail particularly, I just because I lived in Florida at the time, and reason why I went to Maine instead of going Georgia up, most like 90% of people go Georgia to Maine. The reason why being is because of the time of year. I graduated in May, and doing a northbound through hike Georgia to Maine was kind of late, and by the time I would get up there, it'd be, pretty much wintertime, and then Katahdin, the last ascent of Katahdin would be closed. So I was like, well, I'll just go south. I'll walk towards home. I guess the motivation behind hiking the trail was mostly I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to do something that I like particularly wanted to do for myself, and actually complete it. I feel like most of my life I do things that's expected of me, and not what I really wanted to do. And the trail was something I really wanted to do, and I knew that it would change my life in one way or another. And plus, I was also kind of trying to find a little bit of myself. During the time in college, I was a very depressive person. Not the very I was happy outside. On the inside, I was very depressed. Not don't had no idea what I was going to do with my future. Just kind of going with the motions. And after the trail, it completely changed my whole perspective on life. I'm definitely more happier. I know what I want to do with my life. All that retrospect.
No, that's awesome. Like whenever you made that decision that you were, you're gonna hike the whole thing and that you're just gonna go for it. Like, what was the reaction from like friends and family, because you're doing it alone, right?
Yeah, well, originally it was supposed to be with East, my dog.
Got it. I
But
love that name, by the way.
yeah, I adopted him November of 2015. The plan was he was going to be my buddy. He was going to hike the whole way with me. But unfortunately, when we reached the end of Maine, he got injured, and I had to get him off the trail and fly him back home, and then fly. And in that story in itself is an interesting story, actually. I don't know if I have time to go into detail.
Oh no, go for it.
So during the last section of Maine, there was some really steep sections that actually had ladders in them, and I was totally not prepared for that with a dog. And we were going up this one section, and East had fallen off at least like 10 feet and hurt his leg. And he kept on walking on it for a while, but eventually he started limping, and then he didn't walk on it at all. I was like, okay, well, this is a problem. I called my folks. I was like, hey, I think East is going to keep going. We're going to need to send him home. So it was like, yeah, I'm just trying to get to town. We're going to get you a plane ticket to fly you back home to drop off East. I was like, all right, perfect. So now my goal is to get the dog off a trail. So that in itself was a challenge already. So I found a side trail that was 2 miles. And as I was walking down the 2-mile trek, around, I would say about 1.5 miles in, he just stopped walking. So I was like, man, okay. I took his pack off, and then I put it in my pack, and then I carried him the rest of the way.
Oh man.
And then
that's is it like a medium-sized dog? Pretty good size.
He's large. I mean, he's not like big, but he's a large sized dog.
Heavy enough to make a difference.
Yeah, he's about like 60 something pounds.
Yeah.
And I already have like 40 pounds, so it's like 100 pounds on my body.
Right.
And so I carried him the rest of the way. I got to a dirt road. I thought it was going to be a main road, so I'm like, oh man. So I pulled out my phone, no signal. So I walked for another, I don't know, like 1/4 mile or so. Finally got like 1 bar. So I called like multiple places. They had no idea where I was, so I called 911 as a last resort. And through 3 people through 911, finally I got contact with the local animal rescue team in New Hampshire. So I was right at the border of Maine. So they were like, yeah, we're not like a taxi service, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, if your dog is injured, we'll come and pick you guys up. It's like, oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So after about a half hour or so, they drove up in their pickup truck. They picked me and East up. They took me into town. I told them I had booked a room while I was waiting for them
Mm-hmm.
in the closest town. I forgot the name of the town in New Hampshire. But we got into town, and this is actually one of the beautiful things of the trail is like the community and how nice people are is absolutely astounding.
I've heard that. I've heard that. I definitely want to get into that as well.
Yeah, right. As I was carrying East to the room, there was another gentleman who walked over to me, and he was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" I was like, "Oh, well, East kind of hurt himself on the Appalachian Trail. I'm going to try to fly him back home tomorrow." And he's like, "Oh, well, do you need any help?" And I was like, "Oh, well, not really. The only thing I was going to do is going to get some food. I don't know what's open at this time."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, well, there's the McDonald's right down the street. What do you like? What do you want?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll get a Big Mac meal for me, and I'll get a McDouble for East because he deserves it. He's been through a lot."
Right.
So he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll go get it." I was like, "All right," and he drove on a 4-wheeler and just like went down the street.
No, that's so yeah, that's so nice. I
Yeah,
mean, especially at that time, it's just like there's so much going on, and you're exhausted and starving, and obviously stressed because you don't, you're just trying to help him. And no, that's cool.
yeah, and he came back with like the Big Mac meal, of course, but like he bought 2 extra milkshakes, and he had a Bud Light and two McDoubles, and he hands it over to me, and I had prepared to give him money, and he's like don't worry about it. And I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm an Army veteran, I'm a police veteran, taxpayers pay my salary, don't even worry about it." And I was like, "Cool, man, I appreciate it." He's like, "Yeah, if you ever need any help, here's my number. I help hikers along the trail all the time." And I was like, "I really appreciate that." And when I cracked open the Bud Light and drank a couple beers with him.
That's funny. No, that's funny. And I mean, like perfect timing too.
It really was. It was just kind of like, I was like, "Oh man, I can't believe that just happened,"
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guest on, she did, like, she ran the entire coast of California, and like, she just talked about there's like trail angels. So just like people that
Yep.
just basically donate you, like, not they like donate, but they'll like just, I mean, give you stuff. And it always seems to be like the perfect time, and everybody's just so amazing. And so you hear that a lot, which is really cool, just to have that
No,
community.
yeah, it really is. I would say besides the beautiful views of the Appalachian Trail, the people is what really makes the trail special. Like the hikers and the people in town. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times where I was on the trail and I was at the road and I was hitchhiking to get into town, and people would just pick me up right away, and they would even offer me to stay like at their house, have dinner, or like
Awesome.
they would invite me to parties. And I would, of course, my immediate answer is yes, of course.
Right.
And I'd spend, nights in people's houses. I went to little gatherings and parties and stuff. Not like crazy parties. I mean, just like little
Like
gatherings or
get-togethers.
whatever.
Yeah.
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 And it was always a really good time. Always a fun time. It's kind of like people was like, "Oh, it kind of sounds like Europe to me." I was like, "No, it's like uh, a lot of people are always afraid to go and try things because the news and the media and
Mhm.
Facebook are like, oh, like people are bad and there's so many bad things happening," which I mean, they do happen, but that's just a very small part of, what the community really is. There's a lot of good, warm-hearted people out there. You just have to put yourself out there.
No, exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, with the media, it's like they make money on negativity. So you can't. That's why we don't. I'm not watching the news in the mornings. Like it's not. I mean, yeah. It's just it's all negativity. And whenever you can see the goodness of people firsthand, like you were saying, it's completely changed your life. And just to have those experiences and meet the people that you have. And no, so I think that's incredible. And I'm going to back you up a tiny bit, Matthew. So you got to tell me about how it ended with, not ended with, the dog is good, but how you got your dog home.
So pretty much after having a couple of beers, I think his name was John. We like the very next day, I had my stepfather had actually called a shuttle over to me, and it was like a trail angel who had shuttled hikers around, and he was a really nice guy too. We talked the whole way to the airport,
Hmm.
and pretty much how I got East home was that I had a service animal patch at the time. and I'd put that on him, and he went through the airport just fine. He's a well-mannered dog, and he pretty much flew on the plane with me, and that's it. I flew him back home. I was there for like no later than 24 hours. I said hello to my mom, hello to my stepdad and my siblings, and then very next morning I flew right back.
Gotcha. No, that's awesome. And I'm glad your dog's okay too. That's good. So.
Oh yeah, he's on the bed right behind me. He's just chilling.
Oh,
He's sleeping right now.
All right. So you get back to where you were on the trail, and then how did it kind of progress from there?
So I went back, and my buddies were there in town already. So we had rejoined together, and we just kept on hiking from there on out. I think I missed probably a few miles just because of that. I was like right there. Mm-hmm. I was so close, and I was just kind of like, I mean, there's just a few miles. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not really for anybody else anyways. It's your own personal trip for yourself. So, I mean, it doesn't, you know what I mean? So it's not really as like serious as if it is just a few.
Yeah, it was, there's a saying that goes, it's hike your own hike. Mm-hmm. That's the big saying. It's kind of hike the way you want to. It's not for anyone else. It's for yourself. Yeah. So you can hike as fast as you want, as slow as you want, or go to any other places you want. At least that's how most people go about it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And like, as you started to, go and you're getting further in your trail, like, did you ever have any like dangerous situations that you had to deal with, or just like anything that seemed like risky or anything like that maybe just made you a little bit anxious?
Honestly, to me, the trail is relatively safe. In my opinion, I had only one dangerous encounter, and it was by a bear. I saw two bears, and I'm really not scared of them. However, when you're, sleeping and it's, about midnight and you hear large footsteps near your tent, and you put on your headlamp and you just see a bear like 10 feet away from your tent. Yeah, you get a little scared.
Like, what do you do in that situation? You just
I mean,
stay as quiet as possible.
I didn't have any time to react. As soon as I flashed my headlamp, it went right into its face. And as soon as that happened, it just ran away immediately. So I was fortunate enough to where it just ran away and, never came back. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, no, that would be terrifying for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, other than that, all the people were super nice. Hitchhiking is not a problem, males or females alike. I can speak for that because there's plenty of females on the trail. People think it's mostly males. It's pretty even actually.
That's cool. And like, so it's not necessarily dangerous, but like, what was probably the hardest part of like just taking a trip like that?
Oh man. Honestly, the hardest part of the trail is it's just the wearing you down over the long period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, even moving slow, like, over 2,100 miles is a lot on your body.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the thing is that you, the first 2 weeks are the worst. That's where you feel the most pain. After that, you get used to it and you get adjusted to it. So after that, you still feel pain, but it's like, it's bearable. It's not overwhelming. It's really not the physical aspect. It's more of the mental aspect where you kind of get worn down. You're like, man, can I really keep going? Can I really keep going? Because you're hiking. I mean, I took about 30 days off over the course of 5.5 months, but 4.5 months, is hiking, every day, 8 or 10 hours a day. And of course that includes breaks and stuff, but that if you do that continuously, it does wear you out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I mean, like, did you have a lot of times where you thought about quitting, or you kind of already decided like you weren't going to quit? Yeah, there were days where it was really hard, but you knew like that you were going to keep going.
Yeah, I actually could recall. It was in Pennsylvania, particularly. It was pretty much right after the halfway point, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can keep going. I was kind of wearing myself down. I had called my mom, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if I can do this. And then my mom responds with, Matthew, I already know how you are. And if you give up on this, you're going to hate yourself. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Right. No, that's cool that your mom kind of like confirmed what you probably already knew because, it could go either way, like a concerned parent could be like, yeah, just come home. Like, you know what I mean? So that's great that you had this support.
Oh yeah, my mother and my family in general are like have always been supportive of me, pretty much whatever I wanted to do in life. So I'm very fortunate about that.
No, that's awesome. And like as far as just like, I'm sure the amount of stories you have on the trail are just
A lot.
incredible. Like, I'm sure we could probably dive in and talk about 80 million things. Are there certain things that come to mind or like things that happened that you weren't expecting, but it really just left a huge mark on you?
Yeah, I would say my first town ever on the trail, I was in Maine. We just got done with the 100-mile wilderness. So basically on the trail, I had done 114.6 miles or something like that.
Hmm.
And it was my first town. And I've been hiking with a group of guys for a little while. Flatlander and Stretch, you guys know, if you guys listen to this podcast. Um, we had gone to town and we went to Shaw's Hostel, which is the best hostel in Maine. If you ever go into Maine, go to Shaw's Hostel. They're great. And taken a much needed shower after 8 days of being in my own filth.
Right.
Taking a shower, having a beer, and then went to a restaurant, ate some food. But the point of the story where it really hit me was we went to a little bar in this small town of Monson. And it's like, I don't know, there's probably no more than 200 people in this town. I mean, it's small. And the whole bar was just filled with hikers. And it was open mic night. It was, fortunately enough, I had to be there at the right time.
That's cool. Because you do sing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like to sing on my free time,
Nice.
and play guitar and piano whenever I
Cool.
can. I also make music as well. I do have a SoundCloud where I do kind of like electronic music and stuff. I'm
That's
like all
cool.
over the place, but
No, I love it. And at the end, I'll get the link and then I can put it all in the show notes as well. That way people can check it out.
oh, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So back to the story. Um, Basically, we went to this bar, and I remember sitting there with Flatlander and Stretch, and we just gotten our beers and stuff. And Clawhammer, which was another hiker, was playing the banjo, and he was playing open mic night at the bar. And he was playing some honky tonk tunes and some Canadian songs because he's from Canada. And he was just making the whole bar just singing along and having a good time. And there's one particular song. He was playing Hobo's Lullaby by Woody Guthrie. And it was a really slow song about a homeless person like traveling and wandering around. And it hit me down to the core so much that it made me reflect on my current situation. It made me realize that, I can't believe I'm in this moment right now. I'm in Monson, Maine. I'm thousands of miles away from home. All the locals are singing along and playing along with this this Canadian folk. And I got emotional. I was like, man, I'm so fortunate that I'm in this moment right now, and that this will never happen again with these people.
Yeah, no,
And
it's amazing. And that's cool that you were able to kind of have the awareness to be able to like be in that moment because a lot of people struggle with that. Like they can't like be in that exact moment and really appreciate it.
yeah, and to be honest, that was like the first time in a very, very long time where I actually felt in the moment, because for so long I was always distracted by what am I going to do with my future, you know what what am I going to take in college, high school, all that other stuff. And for the first moment, what seemed like an entire lifetime, I felt no worries, no stresses, just enjoying the beautiful music and the people around me, and the adventure that was branching in front of me. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up just talking about it,
No, it's
because
good.
it was such a beautiful moment for me. It really opened my heart up for real.
Yeah, no, no, that's incredible, and I love that, and kind of to like fast forward towards like the end of your trip. So you get to where you're in Georgia, you've finished your trip. Like, what is that like? Like just it's done. And like, I mean, I can't
Mm.
imagine what, after you've spent so much time and energy on something, like, and you reach that, the end, like, I mean, how was that for you? Like, did you have family there waiting? I mean, was it emotional, or were you just too tired? Just how was it?
So when I finally got to the last mile, I was like, wow. It was emotional, but I was also really, really exhausted at that point.
Right.
So when I got to the final landmark, to the last white blaze of the trail, I sat there, took my picture. I looked off just like the last little view of the trail, and I was just like, man, I can't believe I did that. I guess I'll go home now. Just kind of like what's the name of that movie?
Oh wait, Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. I guess I'll go home now.
Right. Right.
Like I felt kind of like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and when I went down the approach trail, and my stepdad was waiting for me, and he took me home. So yeah, that's how it ended.
No, that's awesome though. And I love it. And like, how has it been since then? Because also, I mean, you've had this amazing experience, and it's totally different than a normal day-to-day life. And then you get back to kind of like the everyday grind of like
Hmm.
normal work and normal social behavior. Like, I mean, I'm sure that has to be extremely hard too, because like you're used to like being in nature and like making your own
Hmm.
schedule and feeling like really relaxed. And I mean, I can't imagine the transition from going from that to like now you're back into the grind of things. So how was that for you?
Honestly, it was hard.
Yeah.
Um, just because you're so used to going your own pace, not really worrying about anything in general, just kind of enjoying the views, enjoying the people, having a good time. Sometimes you'll have bad days, but they're really, it's kind of minuscule compared to the amazing stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And when you come back to normal life, you find it really hard to relate to anyone anymore. I would share my stories and stuff, but I I don't know. I guess some people maybe were not interested, or maybe they just couldn't relate, which is understandable. I mean, I've done something not many people have done, so it's
Right.
kind of hard to relate to. But yeah, going back to being in nature, hiking all the time, to kind of sleeping on my mom's couch, doing nothing, drove me insane.
Yeah.
Honestly, I went to a very severe depression after the trail, just because of the fact that I felt like no one could understand what I was going through.
Hmm.
Um, just in general, when I moved away from Florida and got my own job and started working full time, like working was not a big deal. I could work and be fine. But I guess for me, I would just get really bored, and I still do to this day. I'm like always bored at work because it's really easy compared to everything else I've done at this point.
Right.
Like,
And I'm sure you're not outside during your job. Like, it's just different setting. And like you said, like when people don't have that kind of experience, and either if they're interested, they might ask a lot of questions, being super, involved in the conversation, but they still don't understand where you're coming from. So yeah, I mean, that has to be extremely hard.
yeah, honestly, the biggest one for me, especially moving to Georgia and having no family or friends here. Well, besides one of my friends moved up here, which I'm very grateful for Rashawn moving up here. But it's just I had no one to relate to, just in general. Because I had this wonderful, amazing, uplifting experience that totally changed my life, and now I'm kind of back in the grind, and it's kind of wearing me down, and I'm trying to express kind of what my journey was like and kind of what I'm dealing with. And I feel like I can really can't connect to anyone else besides other hikers or through hikers who have done it. So it's definitely a very unique experience, just in general, because you're so used to the freedom and not worrying about all the normalcy bull crap that we deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
Like I don't know, it was so weird. Just like for another good example was when I was at the airport and I saw everyone on their phones, and I was like, man, like it's really weird. I was like, because on the trail I would just go up and talk to anyone who was just passing by, and
Right.
then you just see everyone on their phones. It's like I feel like I can't even talk to any of these people. Like
Yeah.
I feel like these
It makes,
people are
yeah, maybe it
aliens.
makes it more, a little bit more distant when it's, I guess you would have more of a confidence just going up to people on the trail because that's kind of what people are all about when they're on the trail because it's all you have. 'Cause you probably don't even have service when you're going through a lot of these places too.
Yeah, it's definitely unique depression. I mean, even now, all I want to do is to go back immediately as fast as possible.
That's what, do you hike like, like on the weekends or like do you like get back out there just to I don't know what that's like in Georgia, but yeah, do you try to get back out there when you can?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I try to go backpacking whenever I can, just to get a little glimpse of what it used to be.
Yeah.
My goal in life right now is to I want to work at at a hostel in North Georgia, right on the Appalachian Trail. Um, Kind of figure out a way to online market myself so where I can make money online,
Hmm.
and that way I could buy myself a van and be a nomad of sorts and travel with just me and East, sell all my stuff, and hit it.
That's cool. No, I love it, and it's awesome that you do know where you wanted to go and you're following your passions. I think that's amazing. At the end of the day, it's about following what you're passionate about, and not going by what outside sources are kind of pushing you towards, but just what feels right, and then just making a plan to make it happen.
Like one of the biggest things I feel like people should know is that there's more than one way to do something. I mean, a lot of people grow up to, you have to go to school, or go join the military, or like that's your only options. I mean, no, there's more than one way to live life. And just because other people don't see it or don't agree with it doesn't mean you can't do it. Because right now, especially, or even before the trail, like when I said it, I told some family members I was going to do the trail, and they were
Mhm.
like, why? That's a waste of time, blah, 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 or, oh, why do you want to work at the hostel? Why you want to live in a van? I'm like, because that's how I want to live my life. And I want to experience all kinds of people and write books about my experiences and share those experiences with other people so they can be like, huh, okay, there's more than one way to live life. And, the world is not as bad as I thought it was. Because that's kind of what I want my life to be, is kind of just to present to the world that, hey, life is, not this square little box where you have to fit the social norms of everything.
No, that was, perfectly said. And yeah, just realizing that everything's not so cookie cutter and there's different, like you said, there's different ways to go about everything. Like if something doesn't seem right, like may either make your own path or find somebody that's found a different way to get around that. And like, I love how you were saying that you want to document that and write so other people can realize that themselves. And I think, sharing that experience as much as possible, especially through a book, would be amazing.
Yeah, that's why I'm writing my book now. Like the book itself is primarily trying to find oneself and shaping your own path to your own destiny. That's kind of the main goal of the book. I can't say the title because I haven't copyrighted completely yet.
Gotcha.
But what I will say is that because for me, I felt kind of lost in life. I mean, I think we've all experienced that, where we don't know where we're going, kind of directionless, not really sure what the future will hold. I mean, even some people feel that, later in life or in general. But the book is supposed to kind of shape a path, find your inner desires, and kind of, shoot yourself along the beaten path or trail, even though it may seem a little dim. You kind of go out on a whim, you know what I mean, and try to go for it anyway. Because if you don't try, you'll die with regret, and there's really no need for it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I know you just mentioned the like writing that you're writing a book and like is there anything else that's happening like in the future that you want to share with people that you're working on or basically just, getting your books written and going from there?
When I get my book written, and I start doing I want to do social media. I want to do like vlogs,
Cool.
on
And you definitely
YouTube.
should. And you definitely should.
Yeah, I was gonna do vlogs on YouTube and try to be a self entrepreneur, just kind of making money online in such a way that I can eventually just start traveling full time with the online marketing and stuff like that, where I get enough income, where I just start traveling and vlogging my adventures and sharing all my experiences with these cool people I meet or whatever I'm doing at the time, and just kind of because why not? Because
Right.
a lot of people are miserable what they do, and that's something that I would love to do. You know what I mean? So why
Yeah,
not?
no, I love that. I love that. And yeah, and then Matthew, what is the best way for people to follow you on social media? That way, as you start to put out more content and as you finish up the book, like people can keep up with what you're doing. So what would be the best way for people to follow you on social media, and then any websites, YouTube, any of that too?
So on Facebook, I have Mojo and East. It's just me and my dog Facebook page. The title's going to change eventually. I'm saving up some money so I can get some marketing, like pictures and professional websites done. So when those are done, the official page name is going to be Matty Wander, Matty, Wander. So that's going to be my YouTube name eventually. It's not ready yet.
Okay.
So I don't have any links for you. I'm sorry, but
No, that's good. And you do have Instagram though.
Yes, I do have an Instagram, Mojo the Wolf on Instagram. Follow me on that.
Cool. And if they do follow you at Mojo and East on Facebook, when you just change the name, it'll still be the same, right? Or are you making a whole new page?
Oh no, it will still be the same. I'm just going
Okay.
to change the name.
Awesome. Yeah. So you can give them a follow there, and then I'll put all of those in the show notes. And then what is the SoundCloud? That way people can check out the music that you make as well.
Oh, I believe I just want to make sure I have the right one because I have multiple ones.
No problem.
Yeah, just look up Matt Marrero, Mattmarrero on SoundCloud, and I should come up.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll add all of those to the show notes. And then Matt, just closing questions that I ask every guest. But if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it's something that's been your biggest takeaway through your whole journey. But if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
For one thing, don't be closed-minded to other experiences because there's so much to explore and there's so much to see and so much to take in. Just to close yourself off away from others there's really no need. And also, if someone is against of doing what you truly love and enjoy, I mean, just go out and prove them wrong and show them that you can do it. Really.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's perfect. And no, Matthew, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I love your story and I'm excited to get to share it with everybody.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. You're a wonderful host.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Matthew. His story is just so inspiring, and I'm excited for you guys to get to follow him on social media and just keep up with everything that he's doing. But you can find the social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. That's DRKASEY Johnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Matthew's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Matthew, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. And like I spoke about in the intro, also be sure to check out my first children's book of my Healthy Children's Book series called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. Each purchase of the book supports the Unlock Wellness Project, which applies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. You can learn more about the book and the Unlock Wellness Project on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Shop tab, then choose the Children's Book option. You'll be able to read a short description and even watch a short video to learn more. If you purchased the book, be sure to share it on social media using the hashtag UWProject. I'll repost it and give you a shout out on the podcast. But I hope you guys love the book. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you loved today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.